Welcome to Table Talk with Nikki G and Juliette, where we bring to you highlights of
entrepreneurs, leaders, organizations, and much more.
A broad spectrum of professionals, including chefs, artists, designers, musicians, and more.
I feel so blessed today. I don't want to live like yesterday. So please don't stop my vibe. Today I'm gonna make it right.
Our show is a new brand of talk shows where we educate, bring transparency, and last but not least, fun. Table Talk.
Table Talk.
If I tell you so, I love you.
Table Talk is now in session.
Through the months, you know?
Yeah, we really have. I'm just tired thinking about it. We've been doing a lot of recordings behind the scenes. We gotta find time to edit all of this, and that means we need a break.
Yeah. And even through the breaks, it's like we're still doing stuff behind the scenes.
Still interviewing. Yes.
Yeah, there's no complaints whatsoever. I have no complaints whatsoever. I love what I do. I enjoy the venture. I enjoy the interviews. I love the guests that we have. Everybody's different. Everybody has something to bring. You know, the ice cream was delicious. That was
Neil's sweet and nice ice cream. and my brother's still chuffed as well, but we actually did the Iron Man segment. So he's chuffed that we actually chuffed. I shouldn't say the word chuffed, because chuffed, you guys wouldn't know. It's an English term, but it means he really feels really good. He feels really good that we did it with him. So and I'm so proud of him anyway. So
yeah.
Nice.
So for those who didn't see the show as yet, what you need to do is you on our YouTube page already. So you just have to go through all the different series that we did. It was like the second to last series, but we've done some lives and stuff like that. And you just have to look for the Iron Man, being the Iron Man and stuff. Just look for that, and then you'll see what we're talking about. Juliette's brother did like a triathlon journey. With swimming, biking, hiking, so many different things in order to raise money for his friend's son. And it was a beautiful story, For you who are from Britain, you're going to understand him clearly. And for those who are from any other country, you're going to learn how to speak British.
He's Manchester. He's from Manchester.
The English accent and stuff like that, a proper English accent.
And then we had who did we have? We had the General. We had
General Grant.
Yeah, and we had Flojo. Sorry, Flojo, I messed that up a little bit.
No, you were close. We had Flojo, who's from Guyana, and he did a beautiful segment with us. He sang at the end.
He can sing. Oh my God! What?
I got a lot of compliments of him singing. Like even on our page, people said they worked with him. How gracious he was on the show, and they thoroughly enjoyed it, and he was gracious too to be on Table Talk show.
And it was like our own personal concert. I really enjoyed that, Bojo. So thank you still for that. Oh, what?
Yeah.
Put you in the mood.
Oh yeah, he went from the low, sexy, seductive to the high, to being in a relationship and how people act when you're on Facebook and stuff like that. Like it was super dope.
It was really good. Yeah. Very, very, very talented guy. You have to hear him. You have to go out there and try and listen. Yeah. I mean, at the end of this segment, we had his music playing like crazy anyway, even though it was just snippets. But look him up. He was good.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
The artist. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're doing more tapings tomorrow. And throughout the week. Let's just say that. We got some good stuff coming.
Yeah. This taping that we had, it seems like we've been jumping from island to country. And we went from someone who does hair as an artist, right? Painting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
To someone who, does ice cream, has his own, you know, like a multi-billion-dollar industry, ice cream, homemade ice cream. But now, I mean, it's a bigger company, so they're not doing it like, it makes like homemade, but it's a billion-dollar industry, you know?
Yeah. And from
company.
starting from, don't forget to start, he started in Trinidad. It was from Granddad.
Yeah, and now he's in Canada.
In Canada, yeah, they're doing big things. I have to bring another niece on who's actually a photographer out in Canada, and she actually takes a lot of his photos for the thing. But we'll get there when we get there. It's so much, and we're trying. We can only do but so much, as well as keep the day job going and family going. It tends to be a lot sometimes, but we love doing this, so we like doing what we're doing, and I'm really having fun. So yeah. So anyway, Nikki, we got to introduce the person who is coming on next. Is again UHURU. We have the UHURU movement. Now, when we did their first segment, it was just we must have talked to them for about 2 hours straight. That's straight up. We just couldn't have enough of them. And so we couldn't fit it all in one segment. So what Nikki suggested was that we do 2 segments of it. So we had to cut it in parts. So I'm gonna allow Nikki, because she's the one who said to do this, to introduce them again. And we'll go from there. Go ahead, Nikki.
So we have UHURU movement, who had a chance to sit down. It's like we talked so much. You know, we talked so much about Black Wall Street, the history of Americans, a little mixture of Caribbean in there, and you know, they given us the background and history and things that we need to do as Black people, right?
Yeah.
And we started off our show with them. And now that we had a little break, we wanted to finish that segment because yes, we spoke for a good 2 hours in this interview, just getting the knowledge. And we said that we wanted to bring them back. The next segment that we're having, that we're gonna have up for you by tomorrow, is the UHURU movement, who's gonna finish up the second segment talking about Black Wall Street and, you know, things that happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
That was burnt down. People were shot, killed, maimed as a result of a white woman, a teenager, who said that she was attacked by African teenager. So this is what ignited the whole massacre. There was people from the Black community who came to the defense of the guy, young brother, his name was Nikki Rowland. They came to his defense, 19-year-old, who was being threatened to be lynched. And so we had to understand the context. Like, you had, by this time, you had in this country more than 3,000 people, African people, who were lynched. In Oklahoma, people were used to Africans being lynched in Oklahoma. So it was almost the norm. It was nothing for someone, you know, to be lynched in Oklahoma during this period of time for allegedly committing a crime. And so, you know, this young brother, you had people who came home from World War I, fighting for this country during the imperialist wars, who were armed, came to the defense of this young brother. There was a confrontation between them and the white mob that was there, and this ends up with someone being shot. So this ignited the massacre that took place. So, I mean, there's a lot of history, but long story short, some things that I looked at was this postcard of the burnings of this African community. And these postcards were being sent around after this massacre. It would keep these as souvenirs. And that's what I was like talking about, you know, yesterday before I got cut off. It's just like the mindset, you know, the psychology of white people in this country. Like, even after all of that, you know, there was no remorse. There was no, you know, look what we did. It was to glorify this you know, brutal act against this African community. And so going to Joe Biden, you know, just in brief, like Joe Biden, and he's a representative of the mindset of white people in this country. Well, a sector of white people in this country who may admit to the atrocities, but won't go that extra step further into making amends or recompense for the things that took place. And so I think like that's important for us to understand that, you know, you have people in this country that will deny that it even happened. And then those people, those white people who will admit that it happened, still feel as though that they are not liable to do anything about it. And so I think that's important for us to take away from this. Important though to remember, like during the American Revolutionary War, it was Africans who fought on the side of the English, fighting for their freedom. Those Africans went to Nova Scotia afterwards. These were Africans that resisted the institution of slavery. You had Maroons that were in various countries in the Caribbean and in South America. Some of these Maroons also went to Freetown, Sierra Leone, formed the community. So you have a community of people who resisted that were in Sierra Leone. But just to speak about Tulsa, man, it was 75 Africans who went to the defense of the teenager who was locked up and was being accused of touching or fondling some white girl. They came there armed to resist, to make sure that this boy wouldn't get lynched. And so what happened is that you have Tulsa, the Black community, I think, was numbered somewhere around 10,000. Mob was somewhere around 20, if I'm not mistaken, I think somewhere around 20,000 to 20 to 25,000 white people who descended on Tulsa. And so we have to keep that in mind, you know, organized mob of 20 to 25,000 people descending on a minority community in Tulsa. Because remember, like the population of Tulsa, the Black community only represented 10% of the population of Tulsa. So we have to keep that in mind. We were always outnumbered and outgunned in this country when we resisted. Jim Crow laws kept, and Black codes and Jim Crow laws kept African Americans from arming themselves. Those people who had guns, remember, those were like war vets. You know, most African Americans who had guns were people who fought in the war unless they had them illegally. And so it was very difficult for African Americans to be able to get a hold of guns during this period of time. Even today, it's still difficult. And so the last point I want to make too is in 1946, this is another example of Africans resisting. There was a race riot in Columbia, Tennessee. The white community went to go burn down Black businesses and so forth, like what happened in Tulsa. Once again, like this is just one of several incidents like this. The Black community began to defend their community and started shooting at the white people, and they defended their community, and it didn't happen. And 25 African Americans were locked up and put on trial for resisting and defending their community. And they won the case. They won the case. But this is an example of a victory of African Americans resisting the burning down and the looting of their community. So just wanted to add that.
Yeah, and not only did they hand out those postcards, I've read briefly that I think that this was mentioned on yesterday's call, that they used to call it a riot as opposed to calling it a massacre. And what happens if you label it a riot, the people who were attacked or victimized, the people who this crime was done to, they weren't able to file insurance claims. So it just speaks to, like, even after doing the attacks, even after bombing Little Africa, and then after glorifying it with the postcards, now you then name it a riot as opposed to what it really was. I think Vice touched on it yesterday that as of recent, they started labeling it what it actually was, which is a massacre. We own our own media outlets and speak, because the reason why they're able to speak for us is because they own the media, they own the news, they will put out propaganda, they printed the newspapers, and they tell the story the way they want to tell it. Even if it's wrong, people see it printed, and it was truth, it was facts to the people. Whatever was printed on the newspaper was fact. Whatever was broadcasted on our TV screens, it was fact. So it's important for us to have our own media outlets as this one.
Back to our regular scheduled program.
Table Talk is now in session.
That was the end. That was the final hour that we did with UHURU movement, and it was, as you can see, it was very intense. And as you can see, we wanted it to even go longer, but guys, we couldn't do it any longer than we've done. So what we are going to do is have each one of them, whether it's Christine, Ikemba, or Feist, come on separately. So maybe we can do it that way. I don't know.
Yeah, I think
another time.
Yeah,
another time. But for them to come back on and just talk some more, because this is something that we really, really need to do as people. We just need to become one and be less critical of each other and just band together. It doesn't matter where you're from. Yeah, you just got to know that we're all one people, and this is the only way. It's the only way.
And it shouldn't be just about color. I mean, it's good to know about your history. We talk a lot about Black history because, as colored people, brown people, whatever color you are, everybody should know their history and where they come from. And not because you're not a certain race, you wouldn't want to know about someone else's ethnicity or their background. And that's what we want to bring to you. It's not about just us as colored people or Caribbean people. The show is for everyone.
Okay? And then on top of it, just lastly before we close, I just want to say, like they were saying in the segment, it's about telling our own story, right? Because we will tell the story our way. This is how we see it as our own, coming from Africa. This is our story, and it's our story to be told. No one else can tell it better than we can.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in again, and we'll see you next Monday, right? Next Monday.
Yeah. Keep it locked to Table Talk.
Table Talk. Yay!
High five.
Welcome
to Table Talk.
Welcome to Table Talk.